Hi, I'm Sofia Bernardi, mindset and business coach supporting ambitious new and rising coaches to master their mindset, create an aligned and profitable strategy, and grow a six-figure business and beyond using the Rising Coach method. I built a $500,000 business by the age of 24, and in this podcast, I will teach you the psychology, strategy, and energetics to do the same. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Rising Coaches with Sofia Bernardi podcast. Guys, today I'm so excited because I'm bringing on my dear friend Hazal, who is a marketing and business coach, and she's going to come in today and chat to you all things marketing, visibility, the changes that have happened in the industry in the last year or so, and how you can utilize that to really increase your visibility and sign clients despite, all of the changes that are happening in the online space. So a little bit of context, Hazal is a marketer of 11 years turned marketing and business coach for ambitious entrepreneurs looking to scale to multiple six figures and beyond using her self-strategy and systems framework. She founded her coaching company, Hey Hazal, which has helped her clients book out their business, have their highest cash months, and leave their 9 to 5, and most importantly, create a thriving, easeful, and authentic online business. She is also the creator and host of the top charting podcast, the Self Makers Podcast. You guys are going to love this interview. I had such a beautiful conversation with her. We had so much fun and actually so much in common. We really see eye to eye and on the same wavelength about, what it really takes to grow your business, really diving deep on the conversation of things being easeful versus hard, showing up online in the beginning stages, and so much more. So if you are in the starting phases, the growth phase, or the scale phase in your business right now, or even just considering starting your business, this episode is really going to be for you. Make sure you go give Hazal a follow. Make sure you leave a review for the podcast. You share it on your social media to spread this message wide and far. I always really, really appreciate it. And I'm just so excited for you to hear this episode. So let's dive in, enjoy, and I will see you next week. Hey, Hazal, how are you going today?
Hey, I'm doing so well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm going good. We were just chatting offline, and we have a lot in common. And so I have no doubt that my audience will love this conversation today, hearing a little bit more about you and your journey and your expertise, because I know you have a lot to share with everyone to support them to increase their visibility and grow their online presence. So let's dive in. I know you started your career in marketing and you have over 10 years experience in that. What led you to transition from that really successful career that, you didn't mind and transition into a business coach?
Yes. So, I've been in the industry for, I think it's 11 years now, which is a really long time. Mm-hmm. Basically since the dawn of social media as we know it, before ads were even a thing, before they existed. So it's been so fun to watch it evolve over these years. And so, I started working in marketing in ad agencies, in startups. I've worked with small businesses, big businesses. At 25, I was the head of social at one of Australia's biggest retailers. And I love the challenge. But I just found that, and I loved like all the growth, right? It was very fast paced. Things were just happening all the time. It was a lot of fun. I just kind of found myself at this point where I imagined my career ahead of me. And I thought, okay, like, is this what I'm going to be doing? Am I going to be moving from one high level role to another high level role, for years and years and years? And that feeling that gave me, I was like, no, that's absolutely not what I want to be doing. And I also found that, when you're working with these types of businesses, you're reaching millions of people, right? Like it's huge numbers, huge responsibility. And I was just finding that I wasn't getting that connection that I really wanted and that I craved. And so when the opportunity of coaching came along, I was already thinking about doing coaching anyway. And to my delight, I guess, I found that people were like, hey, Hayes, can you teach me about marketing? Like, can you coach me? And I was like, yes, absolutely. And so it all beautifully aligned into becoming a business and marketing coach. And honestly, like when I started, I was working corporate, I worked so hard. I was exhausted. I wasn't making time for the things that I wanted to do. I wasn't taking care of myself well enough or as well as I wanted to. And so I knew that when I created my own business, I was not going to do that. I knew that I wanted to create a business with lots of space. I wanted it to feel easeful. I wanted it to feel fun. And so, yeah, that's what I created, and I haven't looked back.
I love that so much. And do you know what? I find that so inspiring that you actually had a really successful career. You did love marketing and a lot of aspects of it, but because there were certain needs not being met, such as that intimate connection and, you know, in-depth experience and not needing to like hustle and grind to do the thing you love, that you actually acknowledged that and did something about it, because it's so common for people to settle in life or dismiss those things or not be willing to take certain risks to make their current situation, you know, above average and better. And you did that. And I think that that's so, so cool, especially when you had a lot of success and a lot going for you, that you were still willing to be like, actually, like there's something missing here and I'm actually going to go after that, and willing to put all of this behind me in order to do so. Like that's really inspiring.
Thank you so much for saying that. I think like it's that thing, right? When the discomfort becomes more than the payoff, that's when you take action. And I was just at a place where I was like, okay, I am not going to do this to myself. You know, I don't want to be 40, 50, 60, looking back and being like, I wish I would have just tried. I wish that I would have just like done the thing. And it was scary. You know, at the time I was renting this beautiful 2-bedroom apartment by myself, planning all these things. And I just was like, well, I'm just going to fly and just try this thing and hope that it all works out. And it did. So that was great.
I love that. And I'm really curious, what did that transition look like? Did you like burn the boats, quit your job and just start your business? Did you do both at the same time for a while? Like what did that transition to going into your business look like?
I completely stopped working full time. Wow. I started helping businesses with digital marketing myself. And so I reached out to all of my connections. I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing now. So I had kind of 2 businesses running simultaneously. Was helping businesses with performance marketing, which I knew was very good at, like ads, content strategy, top line stuff. And also doing coaching along the side. And then I kind of dropped the other stuff quite quickly and then just started to do coaching. So I think it's like, you know, a lot of the time when you're working full time, and I see this with my clients, it's like you can continue working full time and try to grow your business along the side of that. And that's really intense and really admirable. And you just want to create a strategy where you're working really intentionally on what you're creating and spending your time really wisely. Or you can do something that requires less of your time to help support you in growing your business as much as you can, and really just going, you know, I'm going all in, we're making this happen. And it's just finding what works for you. There's no like one right thing, not one right way of going about it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So marketing is a super important skill set when it comes to growing your business. And you know, standing out on social media is super important today when there's just so many people in the space, which is totally fine, but it's getting harder and harder to stand out. So, can you lean in by talking about what advice you actually give your clients when it comes to standing out online so that they can grow their business?
Yes. So there is so much that we can do, so much we can talk about here. And I know we only have a finite amount of time to be able to talk about this. Totally. So I mean, we can talk about strategies on how to increase your reach in Instagram forever until the end of time. But really, the first thing to start standing out on social is getting your mindset rock solid. This is, I think a lot of the time people go into marketing their business or social thinking, you know, I'm just going to blow this up. It's going to be incredible. I'm going to just go viral all the time. I'm going to go hard every single day, post 5 times a day, whatever. Like, I'm just going to make it happen. And often when we go into it with this kind of mindset, you know, we either get really exhausted, we do really well for a certain period of time, and then we stop and then we go back to it. And all of your success really hinges on how rock solid your mindset is. And so what I would recommend, the first thing is to really embody the kind of CEO that you want to be and who you want to show up as. And so an exercise that I really recommend and absolutely love is doing a future self meditation and really seeing, who does this next level person of myself look like? And really going into that, taking the time, you know, whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is, doing it every single day and getting super, super clear on that version of you. And then beginning to embody that person, like write down, who is this person? What are they doing? How do they wake up? What do they do next? Do they go work out? Do they not? Do they wake up and read and have tea for like an hour and then the sauna and then start working? Like, what is it? What is it that makes them feel really, really good? And start showing up as that person, even if you don't feel like you're there yet. And what that is going to do, you might be wondering, that sounds great, Hayes, but how does that make me stand out on social? But what this is really going to do is it's really going to help you embody the kind of person that your ideal client wants to work with. Because when you're in that energy, you're so magnetic. People just like feel your energy and want to be near you, the right kind of people, your people. And so when you're showing up from that place of authenticity, it's going to help you stand out so much. So that's the first thing that I would recommend.
I love that. I get my clients to that exact process as well. It changed my life. It's so often people are in the mentality of like, when I get this, then I'll do that. And this is very much about like, actually, you need to become that person and do those things to become that and get to where you want to be. And so I really love that you are, you know, encouraging people to do that. The other thing I really love about what you've said here is you have an extensive marketing degree behind you, and it could have been so easy to talk into like marketing strategies and techniques because you really believe in that. But that mindset piece like just trumps all else. Like you can have all of the great marketing strategies, but without the mindset as well, it's pretty useless, right? If you are stopping and starting, your energy isn't magnetic in the process of those marketing strategies and so forth. And so I think that's just such an important reminder for everyone listening that wants just the how-tos and wants to do the things to get the result and is overseeing like their thoughts, their energy, their mindset in the process of that, knowing that, you know, how you feel and what you focus on and what you think actually, you know, dictates the results you get. So thank you for sharing like just transparently and like, yeah, you can have all the marketing strategies, but without a strong mindset, it's probably not going to work long-term for you. So yeah, that's amazing.
And it's also like, doing these mindset practices, they help you get really clear on the kind of person you want to show up as. So not only does it help you with your mindset and showing up in your business as the best CEO version of yourself, but also you get really clear on who do I want to be in the world? Like as a brand, as a person, as a business, how do I want to present myself? How do I want to help people? How do I show up for my people? And it allows you to get really quiet and really clear. And then when you're very clear on that, then your marketing strategy will flow on from that. How you present yourself, how you brand yourself, that'll be an add-on effect to doing that work.
Yeah, 100%. So for people that are like, what exactly is marketing and how can I use that to stand out on socials? Like, are there any practical tips or things that you recommend that support that visibility?
Yeah. So say you've done your inner work, you're feeling really good. And also just want to mention, I know that I said done your inner work, but this is an ongoing process.
Yes,
we don't simply just do our inner work and we are just fixed
Perfect.
and
Yeah, set for life. No, I wish.
Exactly. It's an ongoing thing. And I think it's important for us to have these kinds of conversations, because even when you have a really successful business, you're still doing the work. You're always in progress. So it's never just done.
No. But once you're in a place consistently where you feel like rock solid in your mindset.
Yeah. And then it's about making those little tweaks, it's about it's like watering your plant. Your plant is doing great after you've been doing it for a little while, and you just need to keep topping it up now and then, making sure that it's getting what it needs, rather than like leaving it to I don't know, not have enough water and turn brown. And then you're like, I need a meditation.
Yeah.
So back to what you said. So you've done your future self meditations. You're feeling good. Your mindset is feeling pretty good. So the next thing that you want to do in relation to that is start getting really clear on how it is that you're different to everybody else, and what is your differentiator? What do you do differently than everybody else? What do you bring to the table? And so getting really clear on like, okay, so, you might be a photographer. So, okay, you're a photographer, but how are you different to every other photographer? Maybe you're a wedding photographer. We're getting a little bit more succinct there. And then, cool, so you're a wedding photographer. How are you different to every other wedding photographer? And so it's like finding what it is about you that makes working with you really different to anybody else. So it could be like, you're a wedding photographer who takes really moody, beautiful, artistic shots, and that's your differentiator. Or maybe you're a wedding photographer that takes really like beautiful, glowing, like fairy tale type of shots. And so just getting really clear on like, okay, this is what I do, and this is how I do it differently than everybody else. And it could be, this is who I serve. It could be, this is the different kind of value that I bring, or this is my approach. So just getting really clear on what that is. So for example, for me, yes, there are so many marketing and business coaches out there. For me, it's about, how do I market myself really authentically, and how do I do it with ease and without like completely sacrificing your life? So that's my differentiator. So getting really clear on what that looks like for you and then speaking to that consistently in your messaging is really going to help attract your people to you.
Love that. So what comes up for me here listening to this is that consistency is absolutely the key here, right? Not just doing something every now and again, but doing something consistently. I think everyone really needs to write that word down. The other thing that I really love here, it's about, to stand out, you have to have those unique standpoints, and that requires being really intentional and having a really strong care factor about who you are and what you do and your values, so that you can get that message across. And, just a little side note, it's really cool what we were talking about offline before starting here. Like, the reason why you joined your coach is because you had a very similar background and story to her. And so actually speaking into your story, your experience, your past, and your results actually attracts like ideal people that resonate with that journey. And so your coach, had you not heard her story and how similar that is to your background, you may not have, worked with her, because like that's what connected you, right? You're like, well, if she can do it, I can too, kind of thing. And so that is in of itself like a unique standpoint. It's like not everyone has a 10-year marketing degree behind them, kind of thing. Out of curiosity, what would you say is your unique standpoint? And you might have a few as well. Interrupting this podcast episode quickly to tell you all of the ways we can work together. If you are loving this episode so far, then I have a feeling you're going to love working together too. I have different programs dependent on your budget and your starting point to support you every step of the way in starting, growing, and scaling your online coaching or service-based business. If you would like to learn more about which program may be the right fit for you, there are two things you can do. One, come message message me on either Facebook or Instagram. I am at Sofia Rose Bernardi, or you can head to my website, sofiarosebernardi.com, where I share very transparently all of my offers, the inclusions, the costs, and everything. I've done my very best to make everything extremely accessible, dependent on your stage of business, and extremely supported so that you are supported with everything you need, whether it's your mindset, your strategy, and your energy. Know that that is the 3 core foundations that I am teaching across all of my programs, as when you master those 3 pillars, you are able to then create aligned, scalable results in your business. I'd love to work with you. Let's chat. Check out my website. I'm happy to answer any and all questions, and I would love to work with you.
So first off, I just want to touch on what you just mentioned. Now more than ever, and we can speak more to this later on as well, but now more than ever, people need to know what is important to you and what your values are, especially if you're a service-based business provider, because that is how you make the connection. People don't just buy these really high ticket offers just because, right? They need to believe in you. They need to believe in you, what you believe in. And they need to know that they're going to gel with you. And so when my clients come to work with me, they know that I'm not about hustle culture. Like, that is not my vibe. They're not going to get that from me. I'm not going to tell them to work 24/7. That's not what's going to happen. So like, one of my USPs, for example, is first of all, authentic marketing. So showing up in a way that feels really authentic to you. And then working with ease and without sacrificing your life, which is so incredibly important to me based on my experience working in corporate. And so it's all about, okay, how do I show up from a place of this is who I am, and I feel really authentic in that, creating a strategy that really supports your marketing goals and your business goals, and then creating systems to help make it feel really easeful and help make your business feel a little bit more flowing. Because I truly believe that you don't need to work 24/7 in order to grow your business. You don't have to work yourself into the ground. That hasn't been my experience, and not for a lot of my clients either. So that was a very roundabout way of answering what you just said.
Yeah. So really, like, demonstrating your values and what's important to you in your marketing is what you're saying, like showing them the lifestyle that you have as well, because people are going to resonate with that. Like, if they see you not hustling and getting the results, you're going to attract those people that want that, and so forth, right?
Exactly. And like, even just the conversation that we're having right now, not all business coaches would have spoken about doing a future self meditation, right? But we're all about making it easeful over here in my side of the world. So it's like, okay, cool. Like, how can we make this feel really aligned? How can we make this feel really intentional and easeful? And so the things that I talk about are about that, because that's the way that I run my business and what my values are.
100%. And just on that though, because I see this word get so taken out of context quite often, like easeful. I use it a lot in my marketing as well, because honestly, like, my business does feel quite easeful. However, like, the thing that I think is important to note is that doesn't mean it's always easy, and there's never challenges, there's never tough times, and there's not, like, you don't just sit there on the couch watching Netflix expecting clients to roll in. There's actually work, and that might feel hard at times, but when you are in integrity, you're consistent, you're congruent, you're doing what you want to do in the way you want to do it, that's what creates that ease through the consistency, right? Like, I would love for you to speak into that, so there's not people sitting there be like, oh, I can make it so it's so easy to make all this money and I barely have to lift a finger. I think it's so important to, like, have the little disclaimer with the word easeful. It's like, yeah, like, I would say, and I feel like you're the exact same, like, our business does feel easeful because of the commitment, the dedication, the depth, the investments we've made in ourselves long term, and, you know, to get to where we are, where it does feel easeful. But when I first started, everything was hard because it was all new and scary and uncomfortable. So did you want to speak into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And as well, like, these conversations, that they're so important, aren't they? And it's just interesting because, like, what is hard?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
what is hard? like, I don't know, if I was working as a tradesman, working like 15-hour days or whatever, like that would be hard for me. Like I'd be like, wow, that's hard work, you know?
Yeah.
And so for me, when I think about how I grew my business, I don't feel like it was really hard, because my definition of hard is different,
Yes.
perhaps than somebody else's. So I would also just say, like, you know, take whatever somebody says about how they're finding their experience with a grain of salt, depending on like what they've actually said, you know, listen
Exactly.
intentionally. But yeah, I mean, of course, there's been tricky elements in growing a business. It hasn't been easy. And I think like the thing is that yes, there are challenges in growing a business. And yes, there's going to be times when you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing, or maybe I need to change my strategy, or you need to have those difficult client conversations. And you can choose to deal with them in a way that feels more easeful. So it's not easy, but the way that you can go about navigating those business challenges is what can make it easeful. And then once you've done it a few times, you can create systems in place to make it feel even more easeful. And so the more you do things, the more you create systems, the more you work on your mindset and navigate those difficult times, the more you can make it more easeful.
Yeah, I'm on the same page here. Like, I love what you said there of like, well, there's lots of different types of hard, like physical labor of something that you're not passionate about, that, you know, doesn't come naturally. Of course, that's going to feel like hard work. Like it's going to be physically and emotionally exhausting. But for someone that wants to be a tradesman, that like that's what they've always wanted to do, and they love that, and they're physically fit and everything, that might feel like a piece of cake to them. So you've got to, and like, yeah, there's different types of hard dependent on how you perceive it. And you could always compare to some really worst case scenarios, and that would make your situation feel really easy regardless pretty quickly, right? But something else that I really want to speak into on this conversation is that you choose your hard, you know, like, because it could be hard to post something transparent or vulnerable or on the topic of your business or making an offer. That could feel hard, but also maybe what's harder, and this is going to come down to like people's values and what's important to them. But what would be harder for me is like going and doing a job that I really severely dislike and don't want to be in. So it's like, sure, it might be uncomfortable to post a post on social media when you're first doing it for the first time. But what's harder is the alternative of like, okay, if I don't put myself out there on social media, if I don't do that hard thing, then I have to go do the other hard thing, which is working for someone else doing something I don't want to do. Now, that is way harder. And that allows me to do the other hard thing, which is post on social media. That suddenly doesn't feel so hard in comparison. So it comes down to your values, your priorities, your vision, your mission, and your goals, right?
100%. Choose your hard. Like when I first started coaching, it was hard for me initially to post a reel of me talking, or like a story of me talking to the camera. I was like, whoa, this is weird. Like I've never done this before. I feel so strange. This is bizarre. And so, yeah, this is feeling like a little hard in this moment, but I'm like, okay, hang on. Is it really hard? Or, you know, is working in a job that I don't feel really passionate about 24/7 full-time, whatever, is that harder? Yes, that's harder. So let's just talk to the camera and get this done.
Exactly. And practice equals progress, right? So like you said, and like we both said, it gets easier through time, commitment, and practice. So and having support along the way, which I know you and I, having the same mentor, we both really practice what we preach there. And I know from you having the same mentor as me that we value like in-depth, high-level mentorship. So that's awesome. Okay, let's move on. This industry, the coaching industry, service-based industry online, has changed a lot over the last couple of years. And I'm sure you've noticed that from not only having been in marketing for well and truly over 10 years, but then also having been in business for a couple of years. You know, what have you noticed to be the most what's most important now when it comes to increasing visibility and ultimately signing clients? Like, what are some of the changes you've seen that like now matters more than ever with things rolling out, maybe like AI or whatever else that's come up recently?
I think that, of course, having a solid marketing and content strategy in place, like showing up where your ideal clients are, making sure that you're posting content that reaches your ideal client, that helps engage them, that helps convert them, all of those things, having that strategy in place is the most important thing to continue to show up in that way. Ultimately, right now, what I'm seeing is that people want connection more than ever. We're in an interesting political climate right now. There is a lot going on in the coaching industry. And so really, we just need to build relationships and establish connection with our community. And really thinking about these people in our community, not as numbers, but as people who have stories to tell, business stories. They have experiences, they've had hard experiences, they've had good ones, and really just treating them like they're just these beautiful people that they are, and getting to know them and going that extra mile. I think we're fed this story, or we have been fed this story, that marketing should just be, you put up a post and then your people come to you. And it's just like, that's not the way things are right now. We need to be really strategic, and we need to be building these connections with people and really building that trust and rapport, and knowing that you can help them and you're the person to help them, and then giving them the safety to be able to work with you in a way that they're going to feel really good about their investment.
I'm so glad you said that, because that is definitely something I've noticed as well, that now more than ever, that like personalized intentionality and connection is so important right now. Gone are the days where you can just whip up a post and then people come running to you, like with the saturation of the market. And that's not a bad thing. It just means that you really have to keep up leveling your skill set and be in business for the right reasons. Like, you really got to show up and build relationships. Like, I think people forget that, like, yeah, you can't just expect to put up a post and then people want to invest hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of dollars in you. It's like, it can take time. It takes trust and rapport before you make those big investments. And I think if people thought for a second about their own buying decisions and how they wouldn't just do that, in most cases, right, that you got to consider that when it comes to your own marketing, that you've actually got to go out there and build relationships. Like, all sales first start with a relationship. And so how can you speed up that process? How can you deepen that process? And how can you stand out above everyone else, right? So I really love that you said that. That's really about building connections and having conversations and really building that relationship. And I think goes back to that point that you said around, really knowing what's unique about you, because you're going to attract those kinds of people that are interested in those things or have the same values. So being clear on that first and foremost is really going to speed that up. Amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I see with the future of where AI is going right now, anyway, with so many people using ChatGPT, so many people using AI platforms, that more and more we're going to be craving that personalized connection, human to human, because already I'm reading things and they sound like they're from ChatGPT.
Yeah, I can tell. I'm like, you just plugged and played that from ChatGPT. There is no personalization whatsoever. And I think, we've got to adapt with AI. We could sit here and be super mad at it and feel like the world's crumbling, or we could adapt. That being said, there are so many people that like, oh no, like, it's going to be harder now and whatever, but you could really see it as, this is your time to actually stand out even more than ever before, because all you have to do is have like 5 seconds more care factor than the average person and you will stand out. All you need to do is have some slight personalization, share your story, be raw and real, and you will be miles ahead of everyone else that is using this copy and paste approach from ChatGPT to create your post. Like, it's very, very obvious if it's coming from, and it might not be obvious to everyone, and that's scary, but I think you'll find that the personalized my story kind of content will stand out so much more right now because of ChatGPT and other AI platforms.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I love AI. I think it's so exciting. I think that there's so much you can do with it. I use it all the time. I love it. but it's like, okay, so how can I infuse my tone of voice into it? I know that ChatGPT can do tone of voice stuff, but I personally don't think that it's doing it very well right now. So how can it write in your how can you write more in your tone of voice? How can you sound more like you, more like the person that we discussed earlier as your most empowered, beautiful CEO self? How can you add more storytelling into it and more personalization, and like, you know, get into your DMs, get people into your DMs, have a chat with them, send them voice memos, send personalized emails, like go over and above, because that connection is just what we're craving right now. And that's what I'm finding is really working with my clients right now as well.
I love that. Before we start to wrap up today, I would love for you to share, like, knowing that a lot of the people listening right now are in the earlier stages of business. If you had to start your business again today, what are 3 things you would prioritize and why?
Yeah, this is such a good question. So the first thing that I would do is just nail my visibility strategy. When you're starting out, you just need to be everywhere. You know, like, and I don't mean everywhere as in all platforms. I mean, you just need to be visible. You need to be reaching the right kinds of people. You need to be posting really consistently, getting really clear on who you are, where you're posting, what kind of content works for you, and just getting super strategic with your visibility. The next thing, if I would have started my business again today, I would get really clear on, I would just start working hard on my mindset. So stop wasting time about like whether you're going to be successful or not successful, and just decide, you know, my success is inevitable. I'm doing this and we're making it happen and it's just happening. And then like, that's what I would say to myself. So I wasn't in this state of like, oh, like, you know, is this content going to perform better or worse? Or like, is this going to work? Am I going to hit my income goals? Like, yes, of course, those feelings are so natural and very human of me to be having. But I would have just been like, you know what, just enjoy it. Do the thing, it's going to happen. And just really leaning into it and running my business from that perspective. And then building relationships. I'd say meet people, connect with people, people in your industry, your community, your audience, just build those relationships. So those 3 things: nailing your visibility strategy, getting really consistent with mindset practices, and building relationships.
Yeah. Oh, love it. I could not agree more. We're so on the same wavelength with all of this. Is there anything else you want to share with anyone, knowing that right now the majority of people listening are service-based businesses, coaches, healers, consultants, mentors, in the online world, wanting to either start or grow or scale their business? Like, is there any last things that you want to share that you feel like haven't been mentioned today?
Thank you for giving me the space to answer this question. I think that it can be really tempting to get into a mindset of, you know, the algorithm isn't working as well as I would like it right now. I'm not getting the reach that I need to. It's harder to sell. Like, these things I'm seeing come up with when people come into my world. Like, these are conversations that we're having, right? And I would encourage you to think, you know, where can I take my power back here? Like, what can I do to really empower myself to show up consistently? You know, yes, the algorithm isn't doing well right now, but what can I do about that? I can still post every day if I can. You know, I can post however many times I can to be consistent. I can still be working on building those relationships. So just look at like, what can I control here and where can I take my power back? Because yes, these things can be tricky to navigate, but ultimately, like, you're running a business, working with your beautiful, beautiful clients. You know, like, I just think that running a business is the biggest gift that you can give yourself. And it's been the biggest gift that I've given myself as well. It's such a beautiful opportunity. And so thinking about, okay, like, what can I do to really move the business forward, and really coming from that place of like, I've got this, my success is inevitable. I just need to do the things and I need to do them consistently. And then I can create anything.
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that, because it's so easy to get caught up in the data and the analytics and what's not working and all the things wrong and all the things that are hard. And you've just really flipped that perspective for people. So thank you. Now, if people have loved this conversation, they want to learn more about you, they want to work with you, they want to find what you have coming up, where can people best connect with you?
Thank you. So there are two ways of working with me at the moment. So I have the Self-Makers Mastermind, which is the A to Z of marketing to help with visibility and getting those consistent 10K months. So that is coming up in October. The waitlist is now open. And I also support entrepreneurs who are earning 10K plus months in my private coaching program. So you can find out more about those on my Instagram at hey.hazal. It's Hazal with an AL, not an EL, or on the Self-Makers podcast.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your expertise. This conversation has been wonderful, not just for myself, but for also everyone listening. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for listening and for gifting me with your time. And it was just such a joy to have this conversation. So thank you so much.
If you enjoyed this episode, then I want to invite you to join Rise to Six, the mastermind for ambitious rising coaches plus service-based businesses growing their business to consistent $10,000 months and beyond. This is the exact mastermind where I teach you the mindset, strategy, and energetics that have supported me to build a multiple six-figure business in under 2 years. This mastermind has both a group and one-on-one component where I basically become your best friend and am with you every single step of the way to grow and scale your business. If you are a listener of this podcast, I know you will absolutely love Rise to Six. Click the link in the description to learn more and see if this is the right fit for you. Otherwise, come and DM me on Instagram at Sofia Rose Bernardi. Until then, I will see you in next week's episode.